What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Mind of Marsal podcast. This is episode number 113. I'm your host, Armando Marsal. You can find all of my work over at fantasyguru.com. Follow me under to the machine at Armando underscore Marsal, as well as on Instagram threads and TikTok at Mind of Marsal. Before jumping into it, I just want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate you all. Remember, folks, if you're enjoying the content, enjoying the podcast, enjoying the show, please make sure you follow, rate, like, review, thumbs up emoji, whatever it is. Review there the podcast wherever it is you are consuming it. Also, any questions, anything you want me to cover on the podcast, please make sure you email that to mindofmarsal@gmail.com. You can also find the show now on YouTube. Well, ladies and gentlemen, football is officially fucking back. We had a game last night. It was a great game. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you know each and every Friday during the NFL season, I have a special guest on. He and I look over the entire weekend slate. We discuss picks, bets, we discuss favorite plays, all of that stuff here. That is the one and only Chris Rhodes. He is here with me today. Chris, how's it going, my brother?
We're back, baby. We're back. Almost like we never left, man. It's
Dude,
so excited.
yeah, dude. It was, I mean, what a great way to fucking start the season, right? Like it was a much better game than I anticipated. It was, back and forth. We had obviously it began with drama with the spitting. By the way, I'm gonna say this. I had some bets in last night, and as soon as I saw that guy, spit at Dak Prescott, I'm like, yeah, yeah, these bets are cooked. Like the way that the night was gonna go, where you saw that, I had a lot of stuff on the Eagles there, and then yeah, he obviously that's not the way you want to start the season. But it was an overall great game. I liked it that was a competitive game that both teams looked good. CD Lamb has some crucial drops. We'll talk about that here. But Chris, man, like, was it fun to have football back? Like, and yes, we've had preseason, we had college, but like, I'm talking about regular season NFL. It felt good to have it back on the screen yesterday, huh?
Yeah, man. I get suckered into like buying like the NFL ticket, being a Vikings fan, and then I had to buy like Peacock to watch the games last night. So I'm getting suckered into paying for all these other things that I don't have for half the year. But yeah, it was good, man. I got my kids involved in fantasy football now. I got my oldest one. We did a father son fantasy draft with a home league here. We got football starting. I'm coaching my youngest son this year. I know I coached my middle one last year. I'm coaching my youngest one this year. Football started 3 weeks ago. We got week one for them next week. So I mean, it's football all in this house right now, and it's getting wild, man.
Yeah, I love it. I saw you post. I think your little one scored the touchdown, right? In the scrimmage the other day. I saw that he broke between two defenders and right in between the two and punched it right. So I did see that. That was good to watch. I always catch those videos that you post, man. But yeah, man, football season full effect. Do you have any major takeaways from Thursday night's game? Like, um, you know, do you think Dak Prescott looked good? Anything here from yesterday?
I think that the from my own personal opinion, and I think this is more so like my hate for the Eagles, but I think they're very one dimensional. I think that if you shut down, we saw you could shut down the passing game. You saw you if you shut down or kind of spy Jalen Hurts, they make him depend on that run with Saquon Barkley, and you shut down the run. This team is very one dimensional, and I think you're going to see some spots where they're going to go against a better defense, and they're not going to be as dominant as they were last year. So as a Vikings fan, a team that we have to play, mid-season in the Eagles, it gives other teams opportunities.
Yeah, I'll give away some takeaways here from the other side. Like Dallas's offensive line is still a little bit of an issue there. For me, I'm not concerned about the CD Lamb drops. Like, look, it happens. He's a professional. Obviously, it's not like him. It's very, we don't see him do that often. So we saw at the end. I don't know if you were watching, but at the end of the game, he was like kind of saying, "Hey, this was on me. This was on me." Like he took
Yeah,
accountability. I watched Dak Prescott's post game interview. They talked about that, and he said that Lamb told him it was on him basically, and he took accountability. Everyone took accountability for their actions. So I like that. And I will say this: Dak Prescott, man, he looked like a leader yesterday. For the Dallas Cowboys, I was very impressed with the way he was out there. Pumping the guys up, talking to the offensive line, like all of that stuff. So I'm glad he's taking on that role here. And doing well with it at least first week, right? At least it's the first week. And then one last thing I'm going to say, Jaden Blue, he's a rookie running back. He was inactive, and this is more for the season long folks. there's no need to panic. He's a rookie running back who was inactive in week one. Someone that we discussed, throughout, the summer. It could be a while before his role, where before he carves out a nice role. And just because he was inactive in week one doesn't mean you're dropping him, after the week. So I just want a friendly reminder because we have, there's a lot of people in the fantasy, community where it's just I'm done, cut, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you're bidding half of your fab for that same player. Like, be patient with these young players and these young, especially these young running backs here. So those are the takeaways. But I will say this: if yesterday's game is what we're expected to see this year in football, I think it's going to be a fun season of football, man. All right, so let's start. And what we do here every Friday, for those who are new and have never heard, so Chris and I get together every Friday, and we basically look at the entire weekend slate, Sunday slate for DFS. We'll talk also, we'll give some plays for seasonal and stuff like that. So we're going to be basically breaking down position by position, all the plays we like at each position, values that we find in DFS, high price guys in DFS that we want to pay off for, contrarian plays, stacks. We like all of that stuff will be discussed on this podcast here. We're also going to give at the end of the podcast some survivor pool picks. And then, of course, we are always going to have a couple of bets to discuss here. So make sure you're tuning in the entire podcast because all of this is here on this podcast. Chris, we do position by position. And we'll start off week one at the quarterback position. But before jumping into that, Chris, this is week one. Things are a little bit different. There's a lot of new players, a lot of mispriced players. So do you have any advice for week one, how to approach it? Do you have a bankroll limit that you set for the early on stages of the season? Do you prefer being more heavy on early in the season when there's, newer players? How do you approach the early weeks? But I do think it's a very important topic here.
It is, and the problem that we have here is if you look at my quarterback article, you have to go back, and I typically go back to like the last 4 weeks of the season to kind of evaluate where teams were at. And until we get a good sample size on some defenses, there's some coordinator changes, some front changes, some even like coverage changes. I think we have to wait to really dive into like DFS, like heavy to like week four of this season. Now, that's not to say that if you have a $3,000 bankroll for the entire season, you're only playing $10 this week. For me, I'm probably going to play a lot of the single entries, 3 entry maxes, which I typically do anyways. But I'm not going to go heavy. I'm not going to play the 150. I'm not going to pay the $200. I don't think I'm going to do that this week. There's some plays that I really like and some guys that are going to be a little chalky. So for me, I'm going to wait to really dig into this and really like dig my heels in and really start playing a lot until like week 3, week 4, and then you'll start seeing playing the higher dollar ones.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, right? Like I think the max entry I have right now is the $100 single entry. Like I think that's where I'm capping it off at as well. I don't know if I want to go higher dollar this week. But I will say this, man. What I like about early in the season is there's a lot of mispriced players. Like these sites sometimes take a little bit of time to adjust some of these prices. So we're going to be taking advantage of that here early on in the season. And I think that's sound advice what you give, right? Like Tyler Beaker and I have discussed this a lot at length. You and I have discussed this a lot at length. And early on in the season, and this is why I posted, if you look at fantasyguru.com, I posted last season's defensive versus position chart, the final season. Like you have an idea where everyone was at the end of the season last year. But that's not to use and apply entirely this season. There's been a lot of changes on defense. There's been a lot of changes in systems. There's been a lot of changes in coordinators, coaches, etc. Right? That will change dynamics of some of these defense, right? And then there's also misconceptions of some defenses being good, and when you really dig into the numbers, they're not that good, right? So like we're here to discuss all of that here today. But I agree, man. Early on the season, you play, have fun, and pay attention, play close attention. But I agree, I may not be playing the higher dollars as I will be in week 3, 4 into the season here in week one. But still, again, it's not like you said, not don't go play $5 if you have a $3,000 bankroll. Right. Let's go position by position and let's talk quarterback. For perspective, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott. I mean, that's a lot of good quarterbacks. They're not on the main slate, ladies and gentlemen. I think if you have these guys in your season long, obviously you're starting most of them. So no questions there. But DFS, the highest priced main slate quarterback this week is Jaden Daniels at 7K on DK. and we're gonna be referencing DK prices a lot. I think Chris and I have most of our action on DK. Um, Chris, Jaden Daniels being the top price quarterback at 7K, like, are you intrigued there? I think he's going to be chalky. I think a lot of people are going to be playing him because he's that one, that of the elite group, I guess you could say that tier one group where we're heading into the season. He's the only one on the slate, and I feel like people naturally gravitate to those quarterbacks. Talk to me about him, and then talk to me about your quarterback pool this weekend.
Yeah, so I had to write him up just because he's in that elite status, like you said, as far as on the slate for quarterbacks. Not elite in the entire league, but I think for the slate. Now, here's the problem: he struggled against the Giants last year, averaging only 16.6 fantasy points per game. The Giants' defense did get better too, adding Abdul Carter to this defense, adding some secondary pieces. I do think that we may see some regression too, which is why I think in cash games, I think you go Jaden Daniels. I think you eat the chalk here, but we're talking more tournament plays here. He's fine, but for me, I'm going to save some money and go elsewhere. I still want to see the chemistry too between him and Terry McLaurin. I know that McLaurin was out with that, wanting a new deal. He just got back recently. I got to see some chemistry. Debo coming over. I don't know how the running game is going to do. We have some questions in the running game. If they have to lean on the pass, where's it going to go, with this pass rush? So for me, I want to see Jaden Daniels. Again, this kind of falls in like that first 4 weeks thing. Let me see how he does. Let me see if there's any regression. And let's go away from the chalk. I see 17% ownership right now, which I don't really want to eat, especially at 7K.
Yeah, I'm seeing inflated ownership as well. And in tournaments, I'm not sure I want to do that either. I agree with you as far as the Giants are concerned. I think their defense is going to be better than anticipated. Like, I truly do think that defense is going to be a little bit better than expected here. Not to say that they're going to completely shut down Jaden Daniels, but again, you're paying premium price here. And yes, he has the rushing upside, but I feel like there's quarterbacks on this slate that are sneaky with rushing upside as well. Like, there's a few that, we're going to discuss here. One sub 6K, by the way, and we'll talk about him here. But yeah, I'm with you. Look, I don't mind playing Jaden Daniels in cash. I'm probably not going to have him in any of my tournament lineups this weekend. Um, for me, look, one guy that's really popping, and I'm interested to see where you have him in ownership position because I feel like my ownership projections are a little bit inflated when it comes to this guy, but I really, really am pumped about Trevor Lawrence this week. Like, I love. Listen, you're shaking your head because when Armando says it's Trevor Lawrence week, it's a Trevor Lawrence week, ladies and gentlemen.
Last 2 years is how it's been.
And it starts in fucking week one. It's happening in
I,
week one. 5,300 against Carolina. All right. I'm in. Like, I'm buying into Liam Cohen being there. I think that this is like a bounce back season for Trevor Lawrence. I truly do. Um, I just look at his price tag. I look at the matchup. I look at everything, and he checks off a lot of the boxes for me, right? Like, they have weapons here. Obviously they drafted Hunter. You got Brian Thomas. Brenton Strange isn't exciting, but he's a reliable little, outlet for him. You got a nice stable of running backs in that backfield. Like, feel like they're going to be able to do some damage here against Carolina. Are you interested in Trevor Lawrence this week?
yeah, he's my first quarterback that I brought up. Just looking at price tag wise, just the upside. I think him and Brian Thomas Jr. and maybe some bias because I drafted Brian Thomas Jr. in all of my season long leagues. I just think the upside is just undeniable here. The addition of Travis Hunter on the other side of this offense is going to be fantastic. It's a guy that they haven't had that has that deep playability that can get some of the distraction off of Brian Thomas Jr. At 5,300, I absolutely love this play. He's going to be probably I'm going to end up playing three lines. So he'll probably be in 2 out of 3. And when I was writing this, I thought about you the entire time I was writing this, just because I mean, when we're on Trevor Lawrence, he usually has that 25, 28-point DK game over the last 2 seasons. He was injured last year. I think he's going to come back. He's on that cusp of people calling him a bust over the last since he's come in the league. I think he has to make a statement this year, and I think he does, especially with the weapons around him. He has two really good running backs too, ETN and Tank Bigsby, just to run this, have that running game to lean on. Plus, they're great pass catchers out of the backfield. So I know they lost Evan Ingram. Brenton Strange, when he filled in last year, was great. I love this offense all around. And like I said, Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. are both going to be core plays for me.
Yeah, I love that call right there. Like when it comes to Lawrence, and I'm glad you thought about me when you were writing that article because man, like the first thing I did when I looked at the slate, I'm like, look at and he just stood out. I'm like, oh my God, 5,300 Carolina. Yeah, I'm in, man. And you mentioned it, like there's just a good supporting cast here. There's a really good supporting cast. Let's not forget, like, and I'm not saying he's great, but they also have De'Ami Brown there. Like they have pretty decent guys here. I'm in on Lawrence this week. Another quarterback that I'm very intrigued by is Bo Nix. He's someone I was very bullish on coming into the season here. 6,300. He's one of those quarterbacks that has that rushing upside, right? Like it's not Jaden Daniels, like obviously, but he does. Oh yeah. Oh man, I don't have mine. So for those who are listening and not watching on YouTube, Chris just showed a Bo Nix rookie card. I actually pulled one too, by the way. And it wasn't even me. It was one of my kids. They pulled one from a pack. It was a numbered rookie card, from the Topps collection. Next week I'll bring it on. I can't. I'm not gonna leave the middle of podcast to go get it. But next week I will bring it on and I'll show it. I've showed it before on other shows with Ray, but yeah, we pulled that too. But I digress. So I like Bo Nix a lot. He was a top 10 quarterback on my board heading into the season and for season long leagues. I like this matchup here against Tennessee. I think he's a dual threat quarterback. He has that sneaky rushing upside. I don't think many people are going to be gravitating towards him. Like, where do you have him? I have him sub 10% in my like with my projections as far as ownership is concerned. Where do you have him in your ownership? I have him at 5%. Like,
Yeah, that's
if I'm getting him at 5% here, I think that this is a really good GPP play. Are you in on Knicks this week?
yeah. I love Bo Nix, and Mike the Beard kind of makes fun of me just because of my infatuation with Bo Nix. But I think that you know I think the misconception is that Tennessee has a really good defense, and yeah, they were good at times last year. They are porous in the secondary. So Corton Sutton getting that big deal this year. Evan Ingram is going to be the biggest upgrade in this passing game. A guy that just absorbs every type of pass that comes his way. A nice dump off and a nice safety valve for Bo Nix too, which he didn't have last year. And then of course he has Marvin Mims. I think the running game is what's going to help them the most. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are a nasty 1-2 punch. Harvey is fantastic in the passing game. If you watched him at UCF at all last year, he was a guy that could take a screen pass and go 80 yards for a touchdown. That's going to be a big weapon for him as well. Also, you have the rushing ability, the sneaky upside on the ground for Bo Nix that no one really talks about. So I love him this week at 6,300, probably the most expensive that I'll go. And again, we talk about the rushing. He averaged 5.3 rushes per game and 36.5 rushing yards per game. That's 3 points right there, easy. So, I mean, you're already leaps and bounds at 5-7% over the field. That's going to take Jaden Daniels in a little bit tougher matchup.
Yeah, I agree with that. Right there. Any other quarterbacks here? And that's let's go upwards of 6K. Let's stay upwards of 6K for right now. There's one sub 6K that I like, but upwards of 6K. Any other quarterback that you like? Because there are two other guys I'm okay with this week. I just want to hear your thoughts on if there's anyone else you have.
I like Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow, just that aura of Jamar Chase, the Triple Crown last year. I know Burrow has not been good against this defense since like 2020, and I put this in my article. Back since 2020, he has really struggled against Cleveland, but I don't think their secondary is as good as they once were. So for me, if I'm really going to pay up, I'm going to pivot off Jaden Daniels. I'm going to go Joe Burrow and just match him up with Jamar Chase. If I'm really going to spend my highest dollar, that's where I'm going because that gives me that 30 to 40 point upside, especially against a team that he struggled with, needs to play better, and make a statement early in the season.
I mean, this was a team that lost three in a row when they first started the season. I don't think they could start off on that path, right? And I feel like they have to make a statement. It's a division game. It's a must win. I think the Browns are a mess. I think a lot of people know that right now. And losing to the Browns would just, I don't want to say it would end the Bengals season, but man, it would be really bad. It would be a really poor start for their season. Definitely a deflating start for their season. I'm going to talk about one quarterback that I have I've had hesitations with entering the season because he lost his offense coordinator. He doesn't have all of his weapons right now. He lost an offensive lineman, but man, this is a good matchup. he did very good against his team last year. It's a division game. It's one of the highest totals on the slate. Baker Mayfield, like I'll be honest with you, I had some reservations with him like, for the season, like when looking at season long, given where he was going, because of all of what I just said. But this is week one. I'm looking at his price. I'm looking at the matchup. I'm looking at this game environment. I'm looking at his ownership projection. I'm like, man, this is a slam dunk GPP play. Like he could really be a GPP winner for you this week. You can pair him up with someone that's sub 5K, who I love to talk about here on the show. But Baker Mayfield, man, are you in or are you out this week?
Yeah, again, he's priced up. He's 6,600 on DK, but he torched his team last year. 6 touchdowns, over 500 yards through the year, 75% completion rate. I mean, it's just a good matchup. And I know that we don't have Chris Godwin. I know we don't have Jalen McMillan, but I mean, Emeka Egbuka is probably better than Chris Godwin. Just a top 10, even top 5 route runner right now. He is unbelievably good at the route tree, just running and getting out of each one of the cuts. So I Egbuka is a core play for me. I just think he has a great. You got to remember, I think what the tight ends out as well, right?
Auden? I think he's questionable. Let me double check. I'm not sure if he's officially been ruled out. No, he's fine. No, he's not. He's not questioned. He's not on the injury report. He was dealing with something, but he's not on the. So he was dealing with a
Okay.
groin injury, right? But he's practicing, so he's no longer on the
Okay.
report. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I
That's
know he was
as
up
of
for the
today.
year. Yeah. So yeah, even with Kate Otten in this game, I still think Egbuka with Baker Mayfield and look, Mike Evans dominates this game every year as well. This in Carolina, he dominates. So I like the Baker side. This may be if I don't go Bo Nix, I probably pivot to Baker Mayfield, but both are at low ownership with that crazy upside.
Yeah, I think they both offer really immense upside, man. And I feel that they're both going to come in at sub 7, sub
Yeah,
6%. So I'm in GPP for both of them here. All right. Anyone else in this range, or can we start diving a little lower here today?
I think we could go a little lower now.
All right, there are two guys that are 5,500 or less. And again, this is for me, like if you're playing the Millionaire Maker, if you're playing like massive, like large field GPPs, or if you're running three lineups and you want like just very unique build, these are two guys I am interested in this week. Drake May at 5,500. He's one of those guys that say has that rushing upside. I really like him going into the season here. He's got the Raiders. So I like him at 5,500. Not someone I'm, endorsing as a must play by any means, but someone that if you're looking in this range, he's interesting. And then Daniel Jones at 5,100. This Miami's defense, right? Their secondary specifically is not that great. Okay, this is a team that I I I I'm just not sure what we're going to see offensively, right? They have a beat up off. They have one of the worst offensive lines in football, right? They have beat up running backs, right? Tyreek Hill was dinged up. Like I'm not sure, like if they're going to be moving the ball a lot or not here against the Colts. And Daniel Jones at 5,100 to me is just so intriguing because it's a secondary that's not good against Miami there. It's his first game here, he has a good supporting cast. He's 5,100. He has a good run game, solid offensive line. Like, look, I know he's volatile. And I'm not saying go and play Daniel Jones in cash by any means, but he flashed 20 plus fantasy point upside several times last season. He's done it multiple times throughout his career. He has those sneaky wheels. Man, if you really want to be completely contrarian in a GPP and you're looking for a quarterback in that 5 to 5,500 range that can give you 20 plus fantasy points and is probably going to be sub 5% owned, I think both Drake May and Daniel Jones fit that bill. Any thoughts on them and then anyone else in this range outside of obviously we talked about Lawrence, but anyone outside of Lawrence in this range that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I can see both guys you just mentioned. I think the guy for me is Joe Flacco at 4,900. Probably against the worst defense in the league in Cincinnati. If this game goes back and forth, Joe Burrow has a monster game. You gotta remember who's the guy that we played all the time last year? Cedric Tillman at what, 4,300, 4,400? He's 4,400 this week. Him and Jerry Judy, they're in a smash spot here against like I said, a bad secondary. And I think that 4,900 Joe Flacco, if he puts up 15, 20 points, I think you're in a good spot. You got a lot of salary to work with.
Yeah, I agree with that right there. That's a good call. Very good call. Anything else at the quarterback position?
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's talk some running backs. And I guess everyone's going to be asking, are you paying up all the way up for Bijan Robinson this week or not in the running back position?
Nah, probably not.
All right, so who is that running back that you're paying up for, if any at all?
Well, it was Christian McCaffrey till I got the news this morning that he is a calf issue.
It
So
begins with Christian McCaffrey. It
that's
begins.
down the shitter already. So there goes.
Yeah.
I had McCaffrey as one of the core plays for me. Just so I'm dropping him down quite a bit, considerably. So for me, I think the guys that I'm looking at right now as core plays is like someone like a Chase Brown who's multifaceted both in the pass game and the run game. I love him. James Conner is a guy that absolutely stands out. I know he's on the wrong side of 30, or he is 30. He got a lot of hate in season long, but I think James Conner, this game just with Arizona being such a big road favorite at 6.5, I love James Conner, and I think he's gonna have a monster game. Other than that, I think the running back position is gonna be pretty tough. There's not a lot of guys in great positions or guys that are bell cows. You know, you got, for instance, Kyron Williams, who I think Blake Corum's gonna be pretty involved in this offense. You got Brees Hall with Braylon Allen, who's gonna be pretty involved in that offense. Um, Devon Achan, who is questionable. I think he plays, but you got Ollie Gordon behind, who I think is going to be pretty involved in these offenses. So this is why I mentioned you got to wait 4 weeks. Let's see how these carries are split on these offenses before we really go and dive headfirst into saying, yeah, I'm 100% in on guys that we don't know, we're unsure about. So it's the guys that know are going to be RB1s. It's James Conner. It's going to be the Chase Browns that aren't going to get a lot of their carries taken away from them.
I think that's a good way to view it, right? Like for me, I'll be honest, like I'm not I looked at the player pool, and so for everyone here that's listening, Bijan Robinson, Jameer Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, Bucky Irving, and Nashon Genty are all the running backs are 7K or above. Out of those five, I'm only comfortable with two. Well, I'm okay with Bijan, but I just don't want to pay all the way up, for him against the Bucks here. Um, but for me, Jameer Gibbs, I'm okay with. I'm not saying these are must plays. Jameer Gibbs, and I do think Ashton Genty. I do think he's going to get all of the work he can handle. I don't expect anyone else to take away any opportunities or many opportunities away from him. So those are two viable options for me, neither of which I am like all in on this week. I agree with you. I think the bread and butter here of the week is between that 6 to 7K range. Like I really do like that here. I like Jonathan Taylor a lot. He's one of those running backs sub 7K who I don't see anyone taking away opportunities from him either. You kind of mentioned that, like they're playing against Miami. I know their defensive line is good, and I know that's probably the strength of their defense, but that's still going to take the 18 to 20 opportunities here for Jonathan Taylor in a game where I do think the Colts are going to be playing with a lead, right? Like I think that's going to be in his favor. I love, 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 love the Chase Brown call. Like if I'm not stacking, and you can even run him in the Bengals stack, by the way, but if I'm not stacking the Bengals, it's probably going to be the way I get exposure to that. I also love the James Conner call, right? Because you mentioned it in season long, people were kind of hesitant. All right, I am over in my best ball. I think the only player I went in over 50% was Trey Benson. All right, in best ball because I do think at some point this season, like he could, see more work. I do think he's going to, carve out a bigger role, but I don't think it's necessarily going to start right away in week one. I think James Conner is healthy now. We saw last year a very efficient James Conner. It was often someone we talked about, you and I, last season, and often paid off, right? Like it was, I feel like his price never really shifted all that much. And it was like, I think we rode him for like the first month and a half of the season where it was just like, just go. Like no one's seeing this. And he was almost always like sub, 15, sub 10% owned. I think you're going to see that here again this week. I think he's going to be sub 10% owned. He's going to see anywhere between 18 to 20 opportunities, maybe 17 to 20 opportunities. I think that's feasible for him in this game environment. And it's a good matchup. The Saints are a team that I think you can make a case for them being the worst team in the NFL, right? Like I think you can make that kind of case with the Saints. So I'm all the way in on James Conner. Actually, we didn't talk about Kyler Murray when we were talking about quarterbacks. I'm interested in him as well. Like, as a piece, it just kind of falls off. There's a lot of options. There's 12 games. So there's a lot of options here. But he kind of just missed a cut in the discussion for me. But I'm in on him too. We'll talk about him on Sunday morning for sure when we go by game there. But to go back to James Conner, I'm in on James Conner there. I really do love the matchup here. And there's one guy that's just right outside that 6K that I think he's probably going to be the guy I'm all in on this week, and it's Kenneth Walker, 5,900. The San Francisco, I said it earlier, the 49er, I said earlier, there's defenses that there's misconceptions of being good, being this. The 49ers defense is not good. I know they once were, but they're not a good defense. You pointed it out often last season. They're not a good defense. Kenneth Walker is going to see an abundance of opportunities. This is a guy, when he's healthy, I think is going to have massive games, just massive games here. I love the new scheme here in Seattle. They're going to run the ball. They've, worked on the offensive line. Kenneth Walker is someone I was very big on heading into the season, and it begins week one, 5,900. This might be the last time you see him sub 6K, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I am fully taking advantage of him this weekend. Like, I'm taking advantage of the price. I'm all in on Kenneth Walker. Just absolutely love the price tag. Absolutely love the matchup. And for me, he's like that guy that, going to be a core play for me, I think, this weekend in every single, format. So, any thoughts on him here this weekend?
Um, you know, wait, who is it again?
Ken Walker.
Sorry.
I know you're not a fan. That's why
Yes,
I'm
yes,
asking.
yes, yes. So Kenneth Walker, I was looking at what he did against San Francisco last year, and he played in both games. He did put up 21 DK points, and that a lot of that was through the air. But he did have 14 carries in both those games. And as you mentioned, we've nailed the San Francisco defense. Yeah, they're good off the edge, but interior they're just not good. So he is a guy at 5,900, probably coming at 3 to 4% ownership. That's that late afternoon hammer that I'm completely fine around. I'm trying to figure out if I want to go wide receiver or running back as my flex play. I'm probably leaning the receiver, which I never do. But if I go running back, it's probably going to be Walker jumping into that third running back position.
Yeah, I think it's one of those weeks where you can actually do both, right? Like we talk about that sometimes. Like I know we tend to sometimes lean at the running back position. Sometimes we go wide receiver. I think this is a week given some of the price and discrepancies. I mean, I feel like this is a price discrepancy. I feel like he should be in the 64, 65 range. I truly do think that that's where he should be. So I'm taking advantage of that. So I think you could go in any direction. But yeah, I like the late night or the late afternoon hammer. Again, I think he's someone that could win you a GPP. Like when you look at the 49ers, and we're talking about last season, right? So like just take these stats and this information with a grain of salt. 102.6 rushing yards per game, 4.3 yards per carry, 18 rushing touchdowns, over 20 fantasy points on both FanDuel and DraftKings. They were 23rd in rush DVOA. Like they were not good against the run. Like this is San Francisco. I look at Kenneth Walker and I feel like a big game is in order for him here. This is one of those where so long as he's healthy, you take advantage of the opportunities and the usage. So I'm in there. Any other running backs here in this 6 to 7K range that stand out to you that we haven't discussed?
6 to 7K. Um, Aside of guys like I already mentioned, Chase Brown. I think Kamara could be interesting just because he's going to be such a big focal point of this offense, even at his age. But the guy that I really like, and I know they're not going to run him as much as they did last year, was Chuba Hubbard. I am infatuated with Hubbard. You got the new deal. Great matchup against Jacksonville. I'm a lot higher on Carolina offense than I was last year. I think Hubbard is just an interesting play. Probably won't get there, but I think he's that 5 to 7% ownership play in a good spot.
How about Josh Jacobs? Do you have any interest in him in GPPs? Like, I feel like he's someone that's going to be a high volume guy against Detroit here. I think he's going to see some volume in the passing game, given some of the injuries to the receivers in Green Bay. But I don't know. He's like one of those guys that's in that range where it's like it's right above Brown, right under Tate. Like he's kind of pinned in between two guys I like a little bit here this week. So, but man, he really grades out really well for me. Like he truly does grade out really well. Um, any thoughts on Josh Jacobs? Because I am indifferent right now, but he's like when I'm talking about grading wise, one of the top backs on my board this week from a grade perspective.
Yeah, and he killed them last year. I think he scored 3 touchdowns against Detroit in a loss last year. So, um, yeah, I think he's one of the guys that are. I think a lot of people kind of look over him in this matchup, especially being like an NFC North game. Uh, Detroit, the misconception that Detroit is a much better defense. You got to remember, they lost a lot of coordinators. It's to be seen what Detroit is and how good, if they're as good as they were last year. So I don't think I'll get to Jacobs, but I do get the play.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get to him either. He might be an afternoon only slate play for me though. At that point, I do think he's going to be uber chalk. Um, but man, in a three max, I might sprinkle him in. But he just grades out so well for me. All right, let's look at sub 6K guys here. Who in that sub 6K range are you looking at this week, if anyone?
Sub six, probably not getting down there. I think you can make a case for Tyrone Tracy just because of his kind of workload that he's going to get, but I don't like anything under that 6K. Maybe Garendo if something happens where McCaffrey is limited. That would be it.
Yeah, it's something you want to keep an eye on here. Travion Henderson, someone that at 5,400 is intriguing to me in tournaments. Just keep in mind he's a rookie. Keep in mind at times they see limited action early on in the season. We don't know what's going to happen there. I do think he has a abundance of upside. I think even if he has 10, 12 opportunities, I'm not even saying he's going to have that. I think he'd be able to pay off his price tag with those kind of opportunities. He's at 5,500 there on DraftKings. Another one that's intriguing to me is Travis Etienne. We talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars earlier. Like, if you're not stacking them through the air, I think Etienne is pretty interesting play. There's been so much uncertainty as far as what his role is going to be entering the season. They're expecting a committee. I'll be honest, Liam Cohen's offense, they did well on the ground last year. I mean, they did really good. And if Travis Etienne is going to be that guy, which I do think he's going to be that guy, even if it's a 60% workload share, he's the guy. I think with that 60% at 5,400, he could definitely pay that off here this week. So he's another one that I'm interested in
He
heading.
has a history. He has a history against Carolina in 2023. Put up 29 fantasy points in Week 17, over 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. He had 2 catches too.
I mean, there you go. There you go. And then if so HN is questionable. Like he's or not I don't want to say officially questionable, but he's dealing with that injury.
Yeah,
And the calf injury. They're expecting him to play in week one. Let's play devil's advocate here and say he doesn't play. They obviously don't have Jalen Wright. Is Ollie Gordon someone that you're going to be pivoting to?
I think Ollie Gordon would be an interesting play, especially at his price tag. I don't even know what his price tag is. To be honest
That's
with you,
all low he is. That's why I'm asking
it's
this question.
4,200. 4,200 against the Indianapolis defense that ranked 22nd in the league last year, I believe. So yeah, I think if Achane is down and it's all Ollie Gordon, you got to remember this dude was an absolute monster at Oklahoma State, a guy that we played all the time in DFS in college. So this is a guy that can handle the workload. If he is a dog and has to run as a bell cow, this is a guy that can do it. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. One of my favorite prospects as a rookie this year.
There you go. You heard it here, and I agree. If HN is out, I feel like this is you. We don't say free square often on the show, but I think you do take that free square and Ollie Gordon
That's a
there.
free square. Oh yeah.
If
If he's
HN
out, that's a free square.
and if HN is in, you're completely out in this backfield.
Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to confirm that there. All right, anything else at the running back position?
No.
By the way, I agree with you on Tyron Tracy. I didn't say anything after you said that, but I agree with you on Tyron Tracy, especially if we think that this is a game where they're trailing someone that could catch passes to the backfield. I just feel like he's a very dynamic running back, like like very. I think has a unique set of skills there at the running back position. He was a receiver before, so keep that in mind. All right, let's jump to the wide receiver position here, and Jamar Chase, the most expensive wide receiver, 8,100, the only wide receiver over 8K there. Listen carefully, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever he's on that slate, I'm going to say yes, he's in play. In my opinion, the best receiver of football. I mean, there, he checks off every box. I've been collecting his rookie cards. Like, I'm a big fan. Like, I love this guy. I'm in. I'm in, especially with Bengal stacks. Even if you're not playing Burrow, I'm okay with playing Jamar Chase. Like, I have no issues paying up. I rather pay up for Jamar Chase than pay up at the running back position this week. Kind of where I'm at. Any thoughts on Chase, and then any wide receivers in that 7 to 8K range that you're in?
Yeah, he's I mean, always in play. I see his ownership coming close to like 22%. So at 8,100, we're getting a discount to start the year in a game where he could pretty much dominate anyone. 22 points in week 16 last year, and he also put up 18 in week 7. So there is a history here. Over his last 3 games of last year, had 10 red zone targets. So of course, he's going to be a big red zone target again. So I completely get it. In the high priced guys, I'm trying to stay away from a lot of these guys. Like Puka Nakua, I don't really trust this LA passing game. The addition of Devontae Adams is going to eat up some of his targets. Nico Collins is an interesting play. I just don't know if I'll get there either. I think the only guy, as I mentioned, Brian Thomas at 68. I love the price tag there. But I think a guy like Malik Neighbors in a game that if Washington's going and scoring, they're going to have to continue to throw the ball. It was such a big upgrade with Russell Wilson now. He has made good receivers look great. And I think Neighbors on the cusp of that. And if he gets peppered with targets, he's going to be phenomenal in this spot.
He crushed him last year in one of the early games. He had 10 catches. He was targeted 18 times. He had 10 catches over 120 yards. They got touchdown. Like, yeah, this guy's going to eat against Washington. I absolutely love Neighbors. And I also view him like at 7K. I feel like that's a discount. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to be in that 8K range price pretty much for the majority of this season. Like, this is one of those things where I'm going to hop on the roller coaster. And until that price doesn't really get to that 8K range, I'm going to ride it out. I don't care the results. I'm going to ride it out because he's that kind of talent for me. Like, I view him as an elite talent in the NFL. And especially if he's getting the volume that he was getting last year, which I believe will be the case. An upgrade at quarterback, like you said, yeah, like he's my priority play if you're paying up for the receiver position. Like I like Jamar Chase, and I'm not against Jamar Chase, but he's Malik Neighbors will be my priority play. I think a very sneaky and intriguing GPP play as well in this range is Nico Collins. Christian Kirk is dealing with an injury there. Obviously, they don't have Stephon Diggs this year. Obviously, they don't have Tank Dell, and they have two other rookies there working alongside Nico Collins. I think they're just going to pepper him with targets in this game. And when you look at what the Rams do, and Tyler Beaker wrote this in his article, they play a lot of high man, and Nico Collins eats against that coverage. So for me, like I feel like he's super super sneaky here for GPPs. 7,400. I think that's a pretty fair price for him. And just someone that I think I've been on him since he entered the league. A big fan of Nico Collins, but man, I think he's showing what he's capable of. And he's in my opinion an elite receiver. Like he is categorized as elite receiver. I like him here a lot. So I'm in on Nico Collins if you're trying to get a little contrarian and you're trying to get funky. And then, but that's it for me. Like I agree with you, Brian Thomas, but he's at 6,800. I'm all in with that. If you're stacking the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think he's a good play. You're playing Brian Thomas outside the Jacksonville stacks as well.
Yeah, I think so. I just think the upside is there.
Okay. All right. So same. I'm on Ross St. Brown. Like I feel like he's fine, but there are the other guys I'm more intrigued about,
Too
right?
many
Like
weapons. Too many weapons.
yeah, yeah. All right, let's talk in that 6 to 7K range. And I feel like this is a fun range here. With a couple guys. I don't think it's filled with an abundance of options, but I do think that there's some fun picks here. You mentioned Brian Thomas. You talked about Mike Evans earlier at 6,600. I'm okay with him, but I'm gonna take the discount with Ibuka, and we'll talk about Ibuka
Yeah.
soon. Um, Drake London, 6,500, man. That stands out to me. Like that truly stands out to me. 6,500 there. We saw what he was doing last season towards the end of the year with Michael Penix under center. Michael Penix is starting out the season as the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Drake London upwards of 7K. So I think that this is a good price point to target. I like the matchup here against the Bucks. Any thoughts on London?
Yeah. London is a guy that I'm having a hard time like really getting behind because I saw him go in early second round in season long leagues. And I get it. We saw it week 16, 17, 18. He put up 11, 21, 44 points with Penix behind center. But a 3 game sample size, don't know if I trust it yet. So it's a good price tag at 6,500. It's kind of where he was like hanging around all last year at that price tag. But for me, man, I don't know if I don't know if I can get there. He had a monster game in week 5. I get it. He put up 36 fantasy points. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I don't know if enough points are scored, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. That's a valid point. If you don't think this is going to be a high scoring game, that's a very valid point there. For me, I just man, I look at this price, I look at the potential volume here, and it's very intriguing. I feel like he's safe in all formats. Another guy in this range that am interested in, and I'm kind of actually no, he's actually well, let me see, he's sub 6K. So anyone else in this 6 to 7K range, I'm okay with McLaurin if you're playing Jaden Daniels. I'm okay with McLaurin even if you're not playing Jaden Daniels. However, I'm not prioritizing McLaurin this week. I do think 6,200 is very affordable for what he brings to the table here. Um, Outside of that, anyone in the 6 to 7K range that you're in on?
No.
No. All right, let's jump down below that 6K range. You mentioned you didn't know if you wanted to play a wide receiver or a running back, the flex. We were talking about this when we were talking about Kenneth Walker. JSN at 5,800 against San Francisco. Is there any interest there for you?
Yeah, I'm high on JSN. I mean, you got, Sam, who came over from Minnesota, who was a guy that really, really leans on certain receivers, especially good route running receivers that are like that possession type, which I view JSN pretty much as that. Cooper Cup coming over, take a little bit of heat off JSN. I like the price tag. I like the upside. And I think it's going to be a focal point. Did put up 25 DK points in week 11 against this team. There's a lot of wide receivers. This is where it's really heavy from the 5 to 6K range, where I'm fine playing 4 or 5, 6 of these guys here.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of guys here in this range that I'm very interested in. I like JSN as well. I probably won't end up with him in my roster or in my lineups because of how high I'm on Kenneth Walker this week. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think like if you're not on Kenneth Walker or if you want to go with two running backs and different, 4 receivers and Ken Walker doesn't make your lineup, I think JSN is a good way to get exposure. I do think that this is an overrated San Francisco defense, and I believe that the Seattle and I'm not Sam Darnold guy by any means, but I do believe that they will be able to score some points here against San Francisco. Um, Another guy that really stands out to me is Marvin Harrison Jr. Like
Yeah.
I absolutely love him this week at 5,500. Let's keep in mind, all right, that he opened up the season last year at 7,200. I thought that was a bit much. However, he's also not a $5,500 receiver, in my opinion. I think you're going to see him take a step forward in year 2. And I think this is the time that you invest in him early in the season before you see the production, before everyone else sees the production. A lot of people are hesitant. He would disappoint a lot of people, and that recency bias carries over into this year, believe it or not. Like people draft with that recency bias in season long. People treat week 1 with that recency bias. The same biases that you were dealing with in draft day of injuries and the subpar season the year before. All of that carries into week 1 in DFS. And this is why I like taking kind of advantage. If you notice, we've talked about James Conner, negative bias heading into the season because of his age. We've talked about some of these guys like that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of those guys for me, right? Like where last year he was overdrafted. This year everyone was a little bit, kind of gun shy with him. I feel like this is a good week to invest in him in DFS. If you're not playing James Conner, I strongly recommend that you get exposure to the Cardinals with Marvin Harrison Jr. That would be the way I approach this, Chris. Any thoughts on him here against the New Orleans Saints defense that I don't think either of us are concerned about?
I'm super high on him like throughout the entire year. He's probably one of my highest drafted guys in my season long. He was Man, I think I got him in the 5th round in some of my 5th, 6th rounds. His value absolutely dropped because he's a rookie wide receiver. Rookie wide receivers tend to struggle unless you're a Justin Jefferson type in like a one receiver scheme, which granted, Marvin Harrison is the second option here. McBride is the number one option. Like, let's make no mistake about that. So in a season that he looked better towards the end of the year against 2 good defenses last year. I think this is a really good spot. And again, I think he's being undervalued, and you see it here on both DK and FanDuel at his price tag. It's a good spot. You don't go into New Orleans as almost a 7 point favorite and not expect to score points. It's a 44 over under, 43 and a half. But I think a lot of it's going to favor the Arizona side. They're going to get up, and then you're going to see James Conner, probably a lot of Trey Benson too. But I think this is a spot where this Arizona offense has to make a statement, Kyler Murray included. So I am overly. He's probably one of like the five guys that I invested way too much in, but the upside is there for these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think season long. I mean, in every format right now, like I feel like he was a good buy.
Yeah.
Especially week one in DFS, man. Like I feel like they did a disservice there with his price. Like you can easily make a case that there he's in that 63 to 65 range. Like you can make a strong case for that, and you're getting him at 55. I think this might be one of the last weeks that he's sub 6K. Like, really do think that. I think that his price is he's gonna be one of those that sees like quick up, steady increases until he reaches that point where it's like, all right, there's no longer value here. Um,
I see a game where he goes 7 for 75 and a score.
yeah, that's what? That's 14 plus
20
6.
points with him.
Yeah, 14 plus 6, 20.5 fantasy points at 5,500. Why not? And you're probably gonna get what? Like 6, 7% ownership, if that, like in that
Yeah.
range.
And the big thing too is on the comeback too. Yeah, we don't have a lot of faith in Spencer Rattler, but we don't have as much faith as on the Arizona defense. So I think New Orleans is going to score, which is
Yeah,
going to keep in the game longer.
yeah, and I really do feel like they're going to make it a point. I honestly do feel like they're going to make it a point in Arizona, like to get him involved early on, because I think that was a an issue last year, right? Where it's like there's no chemistry. I feel like they're going to put a lot of the critics to silence them right away. Like I really do. I'm really excited about him here in this spot. All right, who else in this range are you in on? Because you said you had a couple guys. Who else in this range?
Yeah. So I mentioned I do like Flacco. I like Judy. I like Jerry Judy at 54. Not a guy that I'm going to prioritize, but I do like him somewhat if I'm going to play Flacco. But Stephon Diggs, we like Drake May. Stephon Diggs is going to be a thorn in Las Vegas' side here. But I think the guy that really stands out to me is one Ted McMillan, who's now wide receiver one. And if you've watched him in Arizona, playing with his high school quarterback in Arizona, this dude is an animal. And when he unleashes against Jacksonville, they can't cover a soul. I think he scores this week. And two guys that are getting way undervalued, Jacoby Myers, because he wanted that trade, a guy that just eats, and Calvin Ridley, the best route runner in the NFL, upgraded quarterback with Cam. I think Calvin Ridley at 5K is one of my favorite value plays on the entire slate.
I absolutely love that you said Diggs because I have like on my notes I have Diggs question mark exclamation point question mark like yes no yes no so I'm glad that you're on him this week because my only thing with him is like it's new offense new team like I without doubt I have an abundance of shares of him in best ball like he's a very highly drafted guy he's someone that we have the fantasy football the fantasy guru draft magazine that we have out. He was one of those that I put that was undervalued. This came out in the summer. Like we did this back in April, May. Like this is a long time ago that I wrote this. So like I've been on him for a while. Only concern with him is his first week back, but obviously new first week a new team and he missed some time and practice and preseason stuff. The only thing but yes, I agree, man. I think that
So good.
yes, I agree with you 100% there. Myers is another one that stood out at 5,100 because, like you said, we talk about biases heading into the season. People kind of cool down on Myers because, hey, you know what? He wants to trade this. Well, you know what? It's week one. He's on the team. It's week one. He's going to be on the field. He's going to play the majority of the snaps here for them, and he's their number two option in the passing game behind Bowers. Like right, like, and you have an upgrade at quarterback.
Great
Upgrade at
quarterback. Yeah.
quarterback. Okay. So I'm with you on that. Ted McMillan, I love that call too. Like I feel like he's a good. I feel like it's a good stacking, right? Like you stack the Jaguars and you bring it right back with McMillan. I think that's the way I would play that one right there. I think McMillan is a play even if you're not stacking the Jaguars. But I love the idea of just giving it the Jaguar stack, running it back with McMillan there. I like that call. Ridley's the one that I'm concerned because of the matchup. I feel like this is a very difficult matchup. You're 100% spot on that the price is absolutely smashing. Like I love it. This might be the only week he's at 5K. Like it's just, he's a very good receiver, like you mentioned, someone who's going to be seeing plenty of volume on a week-to-week basis. I think he's going to see plenty of volume early on here. I think it's a game that they're going to be chasing points, right? So I do see the path to production here. The only concern for me is the matchup. That's it. That's the one and only concern. If you could overlook that matchup, if you can overlook that, listen, guys, go in on him because at 5K, you're talking about what? Seven to anywhere between 7 and 10 targets in this
Oh yeah,
possible
easy.
game environment, right? Like you're looking at it. The Titans are what? I'm looking at how much they're down by here. Let me see. So they're 8.5 point dogs. All right, 8.5 point dogs. Right, biggest dogs on the weekend slate. Like I'm looking at it right now. They're and it's not particularly close. Like the next, it's 6.5. Like so, in fact, the Titans are bigger dogs than the Saints. All right, the Titans are big, so they're gonna have to pass the ball, right? So I agree. I think that there's a path to a lot of opportunities here for Ridley. Let's talk. Go ahead.
It is tough, but I will tell you, Denver ranked 32nd in the league over the last 9 games, giving up over 182.2 receiving yards per game to a receiver one and a receiver two. Also, um, they also gave up, what was it? 1.3 receiving touchdowns per game over the last four.
I mean, yeah,
So
there's definitely a path here, right?
there
There's
is,
definitely a path because he's going to have the opportunities, for sure. Um, but I'll tell you this: sub 5K. Now we're going to jump to sub 5K. There's a lot of options. This is why when you said, I don't know if I want to do 3 running backs or 4 receivers this week, I said you could do both. I'm looking at it, and I mean, you look at 5K, Jawan Jennings at 4,900. Like he's one of those biases of they're dealing with a injury all off. It was it the contract stuff. All of that is behind us. So long as he's healthy and playing in week one at 4,900, I think that's a stupid price. Like stupid price for Jawan Jennings. Michael Pittman, 4,900 against the Dolphins. I mentioned for me he's a GPP play. I mentioned Daniel Jones. The secondary here is not good in Miami. I'm in on that. Matthew Golden. You look at all the injuries here in Green Bay, and you have to ask yourself like, who are they going to throw the ball to? He's one of their options. Those 3 guys really stand out to me here at that 49 price tag. And then, in my opinion, I don't want to say free square again. I'm not going to say this, but he's in my core. Like I'm going to play him, probably be 100% in on him. And I know that that's not the smartest thing to do when you're playing DFS, but for me, it's very difficult to pass up on like Buka at 4,600. Like I don't see a path where you're not rostering him this week, right? There's not going to be any Godwin. I don't care about Otton back because last year when Godwin and Mike Evans were both healthy, really wasn't that involved. Yeah, you have Mike Evans alongside you, but guess what? That's just going to mean that you're going to get better. You're going to get the better look on defense if you're Ibuka. You mentioned the polished route running that he brings to the table. He has exceptional hands. Just an elite playmaker. When you look at the talent, you look at the price tag, you look at the matchup. For me, it's very difficult not to play him in every single lineup that you do. Like, really is. Where are you at this sub 5K range? Any of the guys I've talked about right now, any of them intrigue you? Anyone else you have?
so the first four guys you talked about are probably 1 to 2% ownership, which I completely get. Golden, Pittman, Jennings, they're all that 1 to 2%. There's 2 guys here that stand out as the quote unquote free squares. One being Igbuka, we've already mentioned. No need for redundancy there. The second guy is Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall, throughout the entire training camp, was nearly unguardable. Like if you look at beat writers, if you look at ESPN writers, he has been nearly unguardable. And his chemistry with Brock Purdy has been undeniably strong. At his price tag, I almost want to lean to Pearsall over. If you told me Pearsall and Buka, I'm probably going to take Pearsall just for the opportunities in this matchup. I think that,
Wow.
yeah, I just think Pearsall is going to get peppered. I think he gets, you got to remember how good he was last year in the last 2 games of the year. Against Detroit, 10 targets, 8 catches, 141 yards and a touchdown. Against Arizona, 8 targets, 6 catches and a touchdown. When he got the opportunities to really run with this offense, he dominated. So for me, I'm probably going to take Pearsall just for that upside. It's probably going to be higher owned, though. So I'll take that into consideration. If you take Igbuka, I have him at 21%. If you take Pearsall, I have him at 28%.
Wow. So yeah, well, I mean, they're both going to be very popular though. Like at the end of the day, like they're both going to be. I feel like the pivot, if you're trying to get contrarian with San Francisco, I agree with you. I think Pearsall, he was going to be another one I talked about. I agree with you. In fact, I think both of the San Francisco wide receiver Jennings and Pearsall are firmly in play this week. I like pivoting to Jennings for GPPs. I like Pearsall and cash, but I feel like you could play Pearsall in every format because he's so cheap that you at the end of the day, you have to keep in mind you do want to eat some chalk, right? Like you do want to eat some chalk this weekend. You don't want to go full out like and say, fuck it, I'm just gonna go 0-1 with 0 to 5% ownership with everyone. Like, you're not gonna win like that. So you have him at 28%. Let me see where I got him. I'm interested to see let me see my projections here. You have Pearsall at 28%. Geez, that's insane. Yeah, I have him at 15%. But yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to be upwards of 20%. I think the reason why maybe it's lower because there's just uncertainty with Jennings, but I do think that he is going to be upwards of 20%. I agree with that right there. I like it 4,500 on DraftKings. Obviously you mentioned like he could essentially be operating if not as the number 2 receiver for them this weekend. So I'm in on that as well. Anyone else? Cedric Tillman, you mentioned him. I'm cool with that guy. I'm cool with him at sub 5K, like in GPPs. At anything. You Tillman. Who do you prefer, Tillman or Judy? I guess that would be the way to look at it. Is it
Was that
Tillman or Judy? Who do you prefer there?
probably Tillman, just because what we saw last year? I know Judy's probably the guy that gets the 8 to 10 targets, but I think the ability to kind of stretch the defense for me is Tillman.
Yeah, I agree with that right there. All right. Anything else in the sub or anyone else here that we haven't discussed that you maybe want to talk about before moving on? Travis Hunter at 5K. Are you in or are you out?
I'm out. I got to see. I like, we like Lawrence, we like BTJ. I just want to see how he kind of fits and how much he actually demands in the passing game, how many targets he actually gets. Again, he's going to fall into that 4 week. I want to see how it goes for 4 weeks.
All right. And let's move to the tight end position. And I guess the question that we always ask is to pay up or not to pay up. And are you paying up for Bowers this week in
No.
DFS? Yeah, me neither, brother. Me neither. Are you taking discounts at the tight end position?
There's a couple guys I like at this discounted, but I mean at the top, I think Kittle. We just mentioned San Francisco again. No need for redundancy. For me, it's Kittle, McBride as the 2 guys that I would prioritize paying up, and we don't really pay up for tight ends that often.
No,
The
we
guys I
don't.
really like, number 1, Tyler Warren. I think he's going to be. I think he's another undervalued rookie that's going to have a monster year. I love Tyler Warren over Colton Loveland way more. I don't understand why they picked him. So I think Tyler Warren just multifaceted both in the run game. I think you'll see him run that Wildcat too, like he did at Penn State. So I love Tyler Warren. Great price tag at 4,400. If you can fit him, play him. One of the best matchups on the slate at the position. But I think a couple of the guys that I really like, number 1 being Juwan Johnson. Both the other tight ends are hurt with Taysom Hill and what's his name that came over from the Raiders? I forgot his name. But both tight ends are injured. So it's Juwan Johnson that's going to be getting.
I think that's a sign, ladies. I think that's a sign right there. I think that's a sign to get Jennings. Yeah,
I do that all the time.
Moreau and Hill are out.
Yeah. Foster Moreau and Taysom's out. So he's getting all the tight end 1 work. in a game that they're going to be down big dogs where they're going to have to throw. Spencer Rattler, who looked shaky at times last year, getting the ball down the field. I love Juwan Johnson as what like that value guy. As far as price tag, that's probably as low as I'm going. I don't trust guys like Mason Taylor's a rookie. I don't trust guys like Theo Johnson. So for me, he's the lowest that I'm going. And there's really no guy in between that. Like from Johnson to Warren, there's nobody I like.
Oh, there's one guy I love in that range. One, just
Janu,
one. No, no,
draft.
no. I like him
Oh,
too a little bit, but it's Hunter Henry. I
okay.
absolutely love Hunter Henry at 3900. Like for me, like if I'm paying up, it's going to be Kittle. And that means there's two things, but if that happens, that means I'm either stacking the 49ers full blown and just say we didn't talk about Brock Purdy, but I will stack him at that point because I'm not fading Jennings or Pierce. I don't think I am really. I feel like it's very difficult to fade them. So now if I'm rostering Kittle, I need to by default roster Brock Purdy. Like just the kind of the way it would be for my roster construction. So I don't know if I'm going to quite get to Kittle, but if I do, I feel like he's my guy. I agree 100% with you. Like Tyler Warren seems like that play. Like you're looking at it, it's like he's the one that stands out the most for me. Like without doubt, we saw it. Like they made it. Look, it's no secret what their intention is with this young man, right? Like they're going to get him involved. He's going to be a huge part of the offense. He's going to play a lot of snaps, all of that stuff, and the matchup. It's a good one. We've talked about Miami's secondary and their struggles. Like the matchup is a good one here. So I'm in on Tyler Roy. But Hunter Henry, he is someone that had a significant target share. Like I feel like he's going to be one of the top two as far as opportunities is concerned in the passing game for the Patriots here. Like I do think Diggs is going to be that number one, but I think Hunter Henry is going to be that second guy. I think he's going to be a security blanket for Drake May there. 3,900. I know there's volatility, but when you look at yes, there's Bowers, there's McBride, there's Kittle, but then after the top three, there's a lot of like uncertainty, in my opinion. And some of the matchups aren't ideal. So for me, like if I'm going down at the position, like it's going to be Hunter Henry, someone who flashed some upside. There's a built-in floor. I think when you look at his role in this offense, there's a built-in floor. You look at a couple times I see he had a 21-point game, a 17-point game, a 14-point game, multiple 12 plus point games. At 3,900, I think you're going to be doing well if he produces at that level here. I don't think you need to stack him. Like you don't need to play Drake May. Like he's plug and play. Like for me, he's a cheap guy. I like quite a bit here this week. I'm with you, Juwan Johnson as well. Again, this is a game where they're going to be chasing points, in my opinion. So I'm in there. Like he's someone that I have written down, and another one I have written down in that range is Strange, and that's for our stacks, our Jacksonville stacks, right? Like he's not a priority play for me, but he's in there for me as well. As is Okonkwo, like GPP flyer. If you're looking for someone who's going to be chasing points and they're going to be passing volume, right? Like I think Tennessee is going to have to pass in this game, because of the score. But for me in this sub 4K range, it continues to be Hunter Henry. I kind of continue to follow him here. So I think there's several options in this sub 4K range. All are not safe, all are not incredibly appealing, but I do think that there's some options. Hunter Henry for me though, man, I just love this spot for him. I think he's going to be involved, and I love the price tag. So if I'm punting the position, or not punting, if I'm paying down at the position, I think he's got my guy. But my top play when you're taking point per dollar, opportunities, match everything, my top play is Tyler Warren. Yeah. Any thoughts on Henry, by the way?
Henry, I mean, you hit it all on the head. I mean, he's just not a guy that gets a lot of love just because when you think Hunter Henry, you think he's been in the league for what, 12 years? He's kind of like that old tight end. But
Yeah.
again, it's a guy that Drake May leaned on quite a bit last year. And it's a plus matchup. It's probably one of the best. I think it's the 32nd ranked defense. Yeah, they're the worst defense against tight ends anyway. So just a good spot. Average 5.8 targets, 59 catches, 59 yards over his last four games last year. So yeah, I completely get it.
Anything else at the tight end position?
No.
All right, let's talk defense. This is going to be quick and easy. You and I always do the same thing, I think, and that's scroll all the way down, look at the cheapest defense, and then just play that game where it's go up, 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 stop right there, and that's where you land. That's it. I didn't have to go that far up this week. There are two teams that I like. One of them is 2,300, the Giants. We talked about their defense. All right, that's one. If you're not stacking Washington, I feel like this is a division game, number one. Giants are improved, and I'm in. I'm in. I don't think they're gonna like get completely like blown out where I don't think Washington's gonna score a shitload of points. I think that, there could be some turnovers, there could be some potential sacks. We don't know, but I like 2,300, and then not that far up above, even higher. If you don't feel comfortable playing them, I actually think Houston at 2,500 is very,
Yes.
very, very
Yes.
intriguing.
That's
Very,
my
very
defense
intriguing.
number one, baby.
Yeah, yeah, that's where I'm at. Like that is gonna be. God, I stopped. Like, honestly, I literally stopped scrolling up after that. I'm like, I don't have to go anywhere else. Like, yeah, there might be better options, there might be better matchups, but I don't ever want to invest more than I need to on a defense. Like 100%. Like, it's so volatile, like so volatile. So for me, I'm gonna get Houston or I'm gonna get Giants in my defense. Like that's where I'm at. If I land somewhere else, I'll let you guys know on Sunday. But as of Friday, today, I'm not going anywhere else on defense. How about you, Chris?
No, I have them locked in right now in my dummy lineup as the. I went to the Dolphins first and then thought about the matchup, but I do like Tyler Warren, so I kind of jumped off that. So I think the Texans are a fantastic play. The Texans against a quarterback that's struggling with his back. If for some reason he tweaks something, you have who? Uh,
Garoppolo, baby.
Garoppolo or Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, it doesn't even
One of
matter.
those two. They're the same guy. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 100% behind on the Texans. There's really no defenses that I love, so I'm definitely here at 2,500.
Hey, you have like, I don't want to say a sitting duck, but you have a quarterback that has back problems, old
Yep,
as hell, right? And I'm not knocking his age because I'm old as shit too, but I'm saying he's old
yep.
and really not mobile. So like, I think there's a lot of potential for sacks, for pressure, for me they're the top ones too. I said Giants first because they're the cheapest, but for me it's Texans number one, Giants number two when I'm looking at it. All right, let's dive. Anything else, by the way, on the slate? Anything we haven't discussed? Anything you want to talk about?
No, I think that's it.
I agree with you. All right, let's talk some survivor pool picks. I think the popular one this week was the Eagles, right? I think a lot of people had the Eagles.
Pick
We
them.
have we have two circa survivor entries. One of our entries was the Eagles. Obviously, it was a sweat. Um, I like Denver and I like Arizona. Those are two other teams I like here this week. I feel like the most comfortable. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in this week. I think that there's, some division matchups that could go one way or another, even though there's a favorite there. Like, so for me, it's Denver and Arizona are my two other survivor pool picks I feel strong about in week one. I don't like to take chances early on, Chris, like to be honest with you. Where are you at with survivor pool picks this week?
That's probably where I'm going between those two. All the other ones are kind of toss ups here. I like some dogs this week too in bets. So for me, I'm going Arizona. I'm sorry, I'm going New Orleans. Wait, hold on. Going. Would you say New Orleans?
No, no,
No,
hell no, no, no. Survivor
Arizona.
pool picks never in a million years. No, we're going Arizona
Arizona. Uh,
against those
yeah.
Saints. We're gonna go Arizona
Arizona, Denver.
and Denver. Those are the
Yeah,
survivor pool picks.
yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
all right. Now bets. Do you have any
Chance to go to New
bets?
Orleans.
Huh?
Come on, take a chance to go to New Orleans.
Oh, you really want to lose your survivor pool pick in week one, ladies and gentlemen? No, 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 no. All right. How about bets? Do you have any bets? I got one cooking. I'm gonna post a couple more. I might post a couple more on Discord. I got one. I'll post that on there. Now, I did see that it came off the market in some places, so keep an eye out in your books. But my bet is Caleb Johnson over 19.5 rushing yards. It is risky, right? Because he is a rookie. He's listed that he's not listed at the top of the depth chart there. They got Jalen Warren, they got Gainwell, who's an experienced veteran. So, but look, this is one of those games. It's not super appealing from a DFS perspective, not so, but I do think that this young man is going to have a solidified role in this offense. I do think they'll get him going early on in the season. So for me, over 19.5 rushing yards seems pretty simple. They still had it up on Hard Rock and MGM as of or as of early this or late this morning. I think it was like about 10:30 or so when I wrote this one down. Um, so just keep it on your books. If it's there, 19.5, I like that there. Anything for you on your side? What do you got cooking for bets?
there's a couple dogs that I like, and I'm playing this as a parlay. One being Atlanta at plus money at plus 1.5. I like Miami at plus 1.5. I like Seattle at plus 2.5, home dog, and then I like Detroit on the road plus 2.5 as a road dog.
I like that.
So
All right.
I'm gonna parlay all four of those. The only one I may take out is Atlanta plus 1.5. All the other ones I think they went outright.
Okay, there you go. You got a nice little parlay cooking up in week one, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you're checking that out. Chris, why don't you let everyone know what you got going on over there at fantasyguru.com? I know you already posted up your QB coach that goes up every Tuesday, but one of my favorite articles goes live on Saturdays there. So why don't you let everyone know what you got going on, where they can find you, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, so we got the MLB article that I'm finishing up as soon as we jump off this. That's going to come up tonight on the MLB slate. Got the NFL GPP article that's just about done. That should be up tomorrow evening. We got the late slate college football article that's coming out Saturday night. And then, of course, us together Sunday morning, 11 a.m. But don't forget, we also have the college football live stream Friday night at 9 p.m. as well. So busy next 4 days for me.
In other words, Chris is crushing the content side of things.
Killing it all, man.
He has his hands involved in every sports, by the way. It's not just football. He does baseball as well. Crushed it this season, and season's still not over. But you had an amazing season. I tailed some of your picks and had some nice cashes throughout the year. College football, obviously, you guys are rocking and rolling there as well. And like you said, that article that goes live every Saturday, it's one of my go-tos. It's really, when I see it posted, I go in there, read it. And look at the picks. It's just great content there. And like he said, every Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, there at fantasyguru.com. Chris and I get together. We will have the full injury report by then because that comes out every Friday night. We'll have a full list of injury reports. Good. We get the actives and inactives midway through the show. We go about that. In that show, we go game by game. We talk spreads. We talk all of that good stuff as well. So make sure you're tuning in every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern there at fantasyguru.com. Obviously we got the podcast. I got tons of content on the site as well. So for those who are tuning in, I've been asked, oh, what's the podcast schedule going to look like? So on Mondays, I'm going to do a recap podcast every Monday. Every Friday, Chris and I are going to be doing DFS. And you're going to find me on Tuesday's live stream as well. Roster Coach live stream, Russell Clay, Tyler Beaker, Rich Mileto, us four. You're going to find three of us there talking waiver wire season long. We got the trending article. I got the red zone review. I got the target and snap shares there. We got so much content over at fantasyguru.com. So busy football season as usual. Chris, I always enjoy this time. Always enjoy this. This is one of the funnest parts of the week for me, where you and I sit down, we talk DFS, we pick each other's brains, and we, pretty much give our guys for the weekend. It was fun as usual. Great stuff. And I'm looking forward to doing this each and every week. You can find all of my work over at fantasyguru.com. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at Armando_Marsal, as well as on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Marsal. Remember, if you're enjoying the podcast, enjoying the content, please make sure you follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever it is you're consuming it. Thank you once again all for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's journey through the mind of Marsal. Until next time.